So the war in Ukraine may have just reached a tipping point. I mean, there are indications in just the past week that the constant degradation of Russia's air defense is finally starting to show. I mean, in the last few days, we've seen Russian helicopters hit on the ground 150 kilometers behind the front, Ukrainian drones hunting the streets of occupied Donetsk city in broad daylight, ships being hit in port in Crimea, and Russian oil refineries burning across the country. These are all incredibly valuable targets or locations that Ukraine is seemingly striking at will. So let's get into it. Now, the best way to support the channel is on Substack. That link will be in the description below. And stick around to the end of today's video. We just hit the $1 million mark in fundraising for Ukrainian frontline units, which is absolutely wild and an incredible testament to you all. Now, getting started, the Ukrainian Unmanned Systems Forces released this footage a few hours ago saying operators of the Unmanned Systems Forces struck Mi-8 and Mi-28 helicopters in the Voronezh region. According to objective control data, at the time of the strike, the aircraft were on the ground and likely undergoing maintenance. Enemy personnel, that one guy, on the helicopter, catches the actual drone. That's, rough day. They say enemy personnel responsible for their operation were nearby. After clarifying the target coordinates, the operators delivered consecutive UAV strikes. As a result of the hits, both targets were struck. The strike was carried out by pilots of the consolidated crews of the 429th Achilles Regiment and the 43rd Separate Artillery Brigade. They say the Mi-8 is a multi-role helicopter used by the enemy for transporting personnel and cargo, as well as providing fire support to units. Estimated cost of one aircraft is at least $6 million. Mi-28 is an attack helicopter designed to engage armored vehicles and manpower. Its armored crew cabin allows for it to operate under conditions of intense fire. Estimated cost around $18 million. And when you're looking at this, one thing to keep in mind is the helicopters are set on the ground, undergoing maintenance in an area that they view as safe, right? You don't conduct helicopter maintenance in an area that's in range of enemy fires. So Ukraine found a gap. Again, I think everything we're looking at today, and we've seen now for a couple weeks, indicates that the Russian air defense capabilities is becoming more and more depleted. There are more gaps for longer periods of time, and they're likely even bigger. And I think a great way to indicate this is the strikes on oil facilities in recent days. My God, everything is burning inside of Russia. Like some of these facilities, they got hit 3 times in the past month. This one right here, two ops, which I'm probably mispronouncing, is crazy, the fires coming out of this place. The Unmanned Systems Forces announced yesterday that they hit 2 ops for the 3rd time this month. They say the first attack took place on the facility on April 16th, saying that key technological units were struck, causing a large-scale fire that lasted for several days. 4 days later, April 20th, they hit it again, this time port infrastructure where the finished products for export are stored. They say a fire broke out on the facility's territory once again. As a result of the previous 2 strikes, 24 storage tanks were destroyed and 4 more damaged. And then it was hit again 2 nights ago. So something to keep in mind, just Russia is either unable or unwilling to protect some of this sensitive infrastructure. All right, that's the takeaway here. This is, in effect, Ukraine calling their shot, right? So Russia is a massive country, and it was never reasonable for them to have 100% lockdown air defense across the entire territory. That's not feasible at all. Something is going to get through. So when one drone gets through at a long distance, that's notable, right? But when you have the same facility that gets hit 3 times in a month, and before you can even put out the fires, the next part of that facility is getting hit, that shows that, again, Russia cannot or will not reallocate air defense assets to protect that facility, or they've just given up on it and said that one's a loss. It's in Crimea, we can't protect it. But we're seeing this play out in other areas of Russia as well. And it's a number of factors. It's the reduction in Russian air defense, the increase not just in quality but in quantity of good quality long-range Ukrainian drones, and it does look to be having an impact across the Russian military. Russian mill blogger 2 Majors said, quote, Sevastopol again repelled several waves of enemy UAVs, with the governor reporting a total of 31 downed drones. There were consequences on the ground, but no civilian casualties. In 2 ops, the long-suffering refinery is again on fire after the fall of debris. And we've seen a couple different Russian Telegram channels citing civilians in some of these border areas saying, we're winning this war, right? How is this happening? Like, the disaster area that now surrounds 2 ops is insane. It's like black rain falling out of the sky. So the people there, understandably so, going, what is happening 4 years into this war where drones continue to strike day after day after day. Where are the Russian authorities? And we've got a little information on that. Putin, speaking yesterday, said that the regional governor in Crimea had reported that there were no major threats. Lucky. Quote, "It seems that there are no serious dangers and the people are managing to deal with the challenges they face on the ground." Little different story from the actual footage we have. My understanding is that they declared a state of emergency in this area of Crimea and have emergency services on scene and have started to evacuate some of the civilians nearby, near those fires that, from what we can tell, are still burning in some cases. The U.S. News put out an article saying on social media, some residents, Russian residents, demanded an explanation as to why air defenses had not been strengthened to prevent a third successive attack. Some complained that Moscow was indifferent to their plight. And Kremlin spokesperson Peskov said authorities were working intensively to combat Ukrainian drone strikes. Again, we have seen this campaign going against the short, medium, and long-range Russian air defense assets for years now, and it's really ramped up in recent months. That has an effect, all right? Whether it reduces Russian air defense coverage by 1%, 10%, 30%, every one of those opens up more possibilities for Ukrainian aircraft, missiles, or drones to fly through, right? This is classic suppression or destruction of enemy air defenses playing out over a period of time. It's the kind of thing that with the United States and Israel and Iran, it was very sudden, right? That's an incredible capability that we have in the U.S. military. With Ukraine, they're having to develop these tactics and technologies during the war. So it's kind of what we're seeing is very slowly and then all at once. And we might right now be in that window where things are shifting drastically and Russia is proving unable to defend as many key areas as are necessary. Now, the Tuops refinery, still burning. You can probably see that thing from space at this point. But Ukraine hit another one yesterday. This one even farther inside of Russian territory, Perm. The SBU put out a note saying they hit a Russian oil pumping station near Perm more than 1,500 kilometers from Ukraine. As a result of the SBU's drone attack on the oil pumping station, a large-scale fire broke out. According to preliminary information, almost all oil storage tanks are on fire. Kinetic sanctions enforcement is the term we're going with, right? I feel like I've mentioned that in a previous video. I could swear that I heard it somewhere else. I can't figure out where I heard it or who I heard it from, so we're going to stick with it. We'll own that one for now until I'm proven that I'm stealing it from someone. I just can't think of who it might be. So kinetic sanctions enforcement is what Ukraine is doing right now, and it's helping to tamp down the Russian economy and specifically reduce the likelihood that they see any sort of significant economic windfall from the Strait of Hormuz being shut down. Now, Russian mill blogger Fighter Bomber, talking to this, said, quote, "One damn drone, of course with its own debris, caused a bit of an Armageddon in Perm. If there had been two, it's hard to imagine what would have happened. We're seeing more and more Russian analysts just get fed up with this drone debris cause the issues. Or in this case, I guess the local government said one Ukrainian drone got through it. He's saying, you sure? That's just one? All of that? One drone? He said, well, the official essentially said that all of the country's air defense systems failed to deal with a single, the only drone. He added the Ukrainians demonstrate impressive consistency in choosing targets, but with much simpler weapons and used in much smaller quantities, the Ukrainians managed to be much more effective and cause more damage. This is really going to be something to keep an eye on going forward. I wonder if we're going to look back to the start of 2026 as the time where this really changed. Again, it is hard to overstate the significance of losing the number of air defense systems. The radars, the control stations, the launchers, all of that has been significantly depleted across Russia for 4 years now. Those are expensive. They take a long time to make. And Russia, nobody, has a surplus of air defense. So every single one of those that is taken out, even damaged for a significant period of time, opens a window. And every single night that Ukraine is flying drones into Russia is not just blind. It's not send that drone and hope that it hits something on the other end. They are gathering data in every one of those launches to map out what the electronic warfare conditions look like, what the Russian air defense networks look like. And when they find a gap, like it looks like they did near Tuops, they just hammer it. And it looks like right now Ukraine is able to surge drones into some of these openings much faster than Russia can reallocate air defense assets to try to plug that gap. This could be a significant moment in the war. Now, I mentioned a fundraising milestone that we hit here. This was wild. I didn't know that we had done this. I am keeping track in kind of a notebook on the fundraising totals that we've hit throughout the course of the year, the years now. But I had a friend reach out recently and say, well, what's the total? Like, what's the top level number that you've raised or your community has raised for Ukraine? And it was over $1 million. Just insane. Like, we're going to run through some of these campaigns and show you some of the pictures from those. But I just want to, like, if you've given $1, it is incredible the impact that you've had. If you've just shared the video or shared the link to one of these campaigns, that's insane. $1 million to frontline units fighting this war. You know how incredible that is? How humbling it is to see so many good people from around the world coming together for people who are in need. It's awesome. So as a bit of a recap here, in 2024, we really started the fundraising. We did some through DonorBox. That was awful. I hated that because I then, in responsible start to finish of all of the collections, there's a lot of fees in DonorBox. That wasn't great. And then I had to distribute the funds or make the purchases. And that was just, I didn't like it. It felt like, I never felt like I could provide enough transparency in those systems. So we started working with other organizations. But through DonorBox, we worked with some Kazakh vehicles, electronic warfare for the 47th Mechanized Brigade. And then we teamed up with NAFO, the 69th Sniffing Brigade, for 3 trucks. The 2024 total fundraised was $111,000. Last year was wild. So we worked with a bunch of different organizations. Again, what I've really liked doing is teaming up with good groups of people that have all the infrastructure in place. They do an excellent job, and we'll list all of them here. They do an excellent job tracking all of the campaigns, tracking where all the money goes, putting together annual reports, quarterly reports, all that stuff. Excellent transparency, and they have access to all of the units and to all of the materials. So, like, great. I'll promote it. We'll advertise it. They're the ones actually making everything come together on the back end. Great partnerships. But in 2025, we worked with Ukraine Aid Operations, Ziggis Paw, Car for Ukraine, and Veterans for Ukraine. And the list of supported units just skyrocketed. I mean, 2 dozen different units, maybe, we all supported just in 2025. The total fundraised last year was $720,000. So a bit of a jump from 111 to 720, and we're on track for an incredible 2026. So already in 2026, we've raised $243,000. So the first 4 months of the year. And right now what we're doing is a year-long campaign with Car for Ukraine, helping outfit an entire battalion in the 104th Territorial Defense Brigade with a new set of trucks. And then already we've wrapped up a couple other campaigns. We did one for medium-range strike drones with Ziggis Paw for the 26th Field Artillery, and then with some international volunteers through the Protect a Volunteer organization. Every one of those, from Car for Ukraine, Ziggis Paw, Ukraine Aid Operations, across the board, all of them, incredible organizations. I'm going to link all of them in the description below because they're just worth keeping up with. They're doing really incredible work. But from me to you all, from the bottom of my heart, wow. Can you believe that? To be a part of something, $1 million, helping some of these Ukrainian soldiers and families and service members defend their territory and defend their loved ones day in and day out. That is an incredible contribution to humanity. So thank you all so much for allowing me to be a part of this with you. That's all we got for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.